Do you have fabric pieces in your stash that are very busy prints or very large prints and you just never know what to do with them? You often see them as you're going through your scrap stash and you're not sure how to use those chunks of fabric in a quilt. Well, today's scrappy block is going to show you exactly how you can use those large or busy prints and use them as a focus in a scrappy block. So let me show you that. My name is Lori Dickman. Thank you so much for stopping by Quilting with Lori today. I'm going to be sharing with you week number 51 of my 52-week series of scrappy blocks. And there is a PDF attached in the description box below. Make sure you grab that, print it, save it, however you want to use that. And this is the block we'll be doing. It's a Shoofly pie block, really easy one to make, but the nice thing about it is that there's a nice 8.5-inch center there, which is a great opportunity for you to be able to focus on those large and busy prints in the fabric stash that you have. Before we look at the block today, and I'll show you how to put it together, I do want to point out I'm going to link a video in the description box below. It takes you out to my video tutorial on my speedy solutions to cut and organize your scrap stash. This will teach you everything you need to know to get your scrap stash cut, sorted, organized, stored, and ready to use to make some beautiful quilts with your very own stash. There are 5 scrappy patterns in this book, as well as all of the techniques that you need, and this is an additional patterns book. There are 12 beautiful scrappy patterns using these techniques. So that book set is available on my website. I'll have a link if you want to take a peek at that out on my website. Here is the PDF, and on my PDFs for this 52-week series, I have been offering a sample or an idea of a quilt that you could put together. This fabric here is a very large, busy print, and it's a very simple block. So I wanted to share with you some of the fabrics that I pulled from my stash that are busy prints. Here we have all of these dogs. It's just a very busy print, but it's kind of fun to have a focus on this adorable dog print in a quilt. So that is one 8.5-inch block that I've chosen. Many times those large prints or busy prints, they're often floral. Here is a floral one that I have in my stash. Very large, busy, and so we can focus on that 8.5-inch block there. Here's another one, a geometric, very pretty, but very busy, and having an 8.5-inch block here is going to be beautiful for focusing in that scrappy quilt. And here's another one. Again, florals. Your stash might have lots of florals, maybe a lot of geometrics, depends on the types of fabrics that you purchase. Many of the fabrics that I have in my stash actually were given to me. There have been 2 or 3 different quilters who are no longer able to quilt, and they donated their stashes to me. So I have lots and lots of fun prints that I can work with for this particular block. So for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and work with this dog print here. And I wanted just to share with you what you need to pull from your stash. And you don't need a whole lot. You do need the 8.5-inch squares. They will finish at 8 inches in the block, but they're 8.5 inches large when you cut them or pull them. You are going to be making some half-square triangles. There's going to be a total of 4 half-square triangles in the corners. So you'll need to pull 2 dark fabrics, and I've pulled some blacks, and 2 creams, and I've got those, or lights, and I've pulled those. When you prepare these half-square triangles, you will draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. You'll sew a scant 1/4-inch seam allowance on both sides of those lines. You'll cut on that drawn line, then you'll have 2 units, and we'll end up with 4 units with these 2 sets here. And then we'll press it open, square it up to 2.5 inches. And then you're also going to need 4 of these 2.5 by 8.5 inch rectangles. And then you'll be putting the block together in 3 simple rows, if I can get these apart here. So it's just simply adding the rectangles on the outer 4 corners, and then these half-square triangles, once they get pieced together, cut apart, pressed, and squared up, they will go in the outside 4 corners. And you've watched me make many, many half-square triangles over the last 50-some weeks. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is, let me share with you how I have done this. I've taken a a ruler and I've taken a marker. You can use your Mark Be Gone, a disappearing ink pen, or just a pen or a pencil, because the line is going to end up being the cut line. And I simply drew a line from corner to corner. I've placed these 3-inch squares. These are both 3-inch squares, and they will end up being squared up to 2.5-inch units when we're done. But 3-inch squares, draw the line. We're going to sew a scant 1/4 inch. I'm going to do it in assembly line fashion or chain stitching. I'll bring it back to my tabletop, cut on the drawn lines, press it open, square them each up to 2.5 inches, and I'll end up with 4 half square triangle units. So here you see I have sewn these a scant 1/4 inch. Let's see, can you see it better on this side? Not really. I'm not sure which side you can see it better on, but I've sewn a scant 1/4 inch on the outside of the drawn lines right there. And now what I'm going to do is cut on the drawn line. And what I like to do first is, when I cut this, and you've seen me do this before, I like to cut off the dog ears from stitching line to stitching line. It just eliminates that excess dog ear on both points. And then you can use your rotary cutter to cut on the drawn line, or you can simply use your scissors. And since I only have 2 right here, I'm just going to use my scissors. And I end up with 2 half square triangle units. And then at this point, I'm actually going to square mine up first and then press them, because I'm going to be using the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer, the A trimmer, and I'm going to be using the 2.5-inch line here. I'm going to line up the stitching line with the stitching line on the unit, and then I'm going to trim away the excess. I'll show you that here, but first let me get this one. I want to get the dog ears off of that. So again, what I did was I just cut from stitching line to stitching line, got rid of that excess, and then you can use your rotary or a scissors to cut them apart. All right, whoops, I missed a thread there. So here's what I'm going to do with these units. This is my 2.5-inch stitch line, and the stitching line is underneath on the fabric. I've lined it up, and I can just simply eliminate or cut away the excess. And there isn't much, but that's very important that that gets removed. And with the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer, you also have the capability of getting rid of the points, the additional dog ears, because of the slots that are right there. And so you've removed those slots. It's a wonderful ruler to have. You don't have to use something like this if you don't have it. You can certainly just use a square ruler that has the 45-degree angle, and you'll press this open, line up your ruler on that seam line, and then trim it up so that it's 2.5 inches. So I'm going to do that to all 4 of these units. I'll be right back. So I have the block laid out here, and basically it's just 3 rows. I've got my half square triangles on each end. Definitely make sure that you have your half square triangle oriented this direction so that the dark points kiss the center block. I guess you could certainly do it like this if you wanted to. That would give a different look to your block. That's totally up to you. But if you want it to look like the Shoofly pie block that I have in this PDF, then you just want to make sure that they're all pointing toward the center block itself. So I'm simply going to sew this unit together, or that row together, this row together, and this row together, and then put the 3 rows together. Fast and easy. Let me do that. I'll bring it back to the tabletop. What I have done here is I have webbed the block, and I do this all the time. I start in the upper left, or in your case, it would the upper left would be here, and I put these together and sew this unit together. So I sew these 2 rows together, and then I come back and I sew that row to it, and you end up with this. They are webbed together with those strings because I do not cut apart the units as I'm sewing them. Now I can simply press these, put them together, right sides together, line them up, and line up the seam allowances and sew those, and the block will be done. Then I'm going to press it and square it up to 12.5 inches. The block is pressed and squared up to 12.5 inches. And you could absolutely do this with, any size. Maybe you want to use a larger center and create a larger block. Totally up to you. Just have fun with it. You could actually use this dog print fabric or whatever print you have and just make the whole quilt with these 3 values and this big print or this busy print. Or you might want to just continue using up a lot of your large prints or your busy prints and continue making the same Shoofly pie and just have an entire scrappy quilt made with these blocks. I think it would be quite lovely. Be sure to play around with this pattern on the back. You'll see here I have complete blocks, which means that the sashing in between is creating a secondary pattern. However, you could just make the first block with this sashing, and then the second block could actually attach to this one. It would give it a little bit different look. You wouldn't have the secondary value or print that you see right there, which is kind of cool. And there might be some other ideas. You might want to create a different type of a star in that border there. There's so much you can do with this. Just really have fun, experiment, play. Give yourself permission to play with your fabrics and with your scraps and just have fun creating some beautiful, unique quilts. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope that you'll post your blocks that you create out on my Facebook page. I've got a Scrap Up Your Stash group page out there. I'll have the link in the description box below. And make sure that you go out there and join and post anything that you're working on. I love to see projects, the quilt projects that people are working on. It's really fun to see that, and it's very inspiring for others as well. And if you haven't had a chance yet to watch that video tutorial on how to get your scrap stash completely cut, sorted, organized, stored, and ready to use, make sure you watch that. That video link is below. The book set link is below. And don't forget to grab your PDF for this particular block, week number 51, the Shoofly pie. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like the content that I'm providing, please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. All of that really does help my channel to get out to other viewers just like yourself. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy quilting.